I am with the one and only,
Oh God.
the one and only. That's right, baby. Kristen Suraci. We're bringing the sauce today. We got
Oh
saucy
gosh.
Suraci. Kristen, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. What an introduction.
Oh, anytime. But now that we both have our Grams coffee, and shout out to Grams, I think we're really ready to go now.
We're so ready to go. Get the creamsicle latte and thank me later.
Absolutely. Shout out to Grams. Seriously, some of the best coffee in the 518 you're
The
going to get.
best, in my humble opinion.
The best, for sure. And let's get right into it with my
Okay.
favorite question, a little icebreaker right at the top. Where were you born and where'd you grow up?
Okay, I can answer this one. I was I was literally just telling you, I was like, I'm so nervous. What are you gonna ask me? I was born in Schenectady, New York. Do you want to know the hospital? Like, I can give you all the times.
Yeah, I'd like to know that-
11:48 a.m., June
Yeah, thank
28th,
you.
1992.
Social security number?
Okay, that I can't do. I don't want my identity stolen. I've already had too many credit cards hacked. But yeah, born in Schenectady, raised in Guilderland. It's so funny. Like, you grow up somewhere and you're like, I'm never going to live here. Yep, I'm living in Guilderland. So
Yeah. What was it like for you really growing up here?
it was so fun. I feel like the neighborhood I grew up in, there were so many families and kids, and we would like play hide and seek throughout the neighborhood, and we were just having the time of our lives. And I feel like you actually don't see that anymore, which makes me sad. But our neighborhood, I feel like, was such a community. Like, all the parents got along, all the kids were friends. We were always like pool hopping and just like running around, going on dirt bikes. Like, we were crazy. But it was safe to do that. You know what I mean? Like, we could run all over the neighborhood, and who knows where our parents were. They were probably like drinking wine somewhere, and they were just like, have fun, see you later. And it was so fun. Like, I have so many fond memories of like growing up and just like truly just like playing outside.
I'm a few years older than you, not by a lot, but I feel like our generation was like the last generation of kids that got to grow up before like Disneyland burned down, before like all the parents
Yeah.
started like helicoptering around everywhere and kids couldn't even just go out and play.
So here's the thing I'll say about that, and it's interesting because I agree with you. But I recently went to Skinny Atlas. I don't know if you've ever been.
I have. Great spot.
So, but the main thing I noticed and took away from being there was all of these kids were outside running around playing. And I was like in line to get ice cream, and I was talking to a parent, and I said to her, I was like, I think it's so beautiful to see all these kids running around and just like laughing and having such a good time. And she was like, we have the best community here. Like, all the parents look out for each other's kids, and it's so safe. We just have no worry. And I'm like, where did we lose that?
Also, shout out to you for correctly pronouncing Skinny Atlas.
Oh, thank you.
John Mannion, shout out to Congressman John Mannion, who was one of my political clients last year. He likes to quiz people about Central New York names and pronunciations.
hard.
They're hard.
They're really hard.
So major credit to you for getting that right.
I used to work at News 10 like early on in my career, and anytime a new reporter came in that wasn't from the area, we would have to sit them down and be like, all right, here's how you pronounce Schenectady. Here's how you pronounce Watervliet. Here's how you pronounce, like, they would all come and they would just botch it so bad. Like, it was kind of funny, but we were like, we can't let you go on air like that.
What's your favorite 518 kind of pronunciation one that most people get wrong? Would it be Schenectady?
Probably Schenectady. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Or did you see Matt Rife just called SPAC SPAC?
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Haven't seen
My
that
heart
one.
kind of soared a little bit because being a political guy, it made it sound like it was a political action committee rather than a performing arts center. So I wanted to be on Matt's side with that. But, you know, but he made up for it.
He did.
He owned it.
Yeah.
You got to own it.
As long as you own it, I'm not offended easily. So
Yeah. It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, keep pronouncing it wrong. Let me laugh. Let me get a good giggle in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when you think about life growing up here in the 518,
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about kind of what your thinking was when you were approaching like high school and college. Did you debate moving away to go to school? Like, what was your thought process like at that time in your life?
Yeah, I was definitely debating going away. And I guess part of me my dad's going to hate to hear this. Part of me wishes I did. So I was the sixth person in my family to go to Siena. And so I think there was like kind of a pressure there of like, well, they all went, so like I should. And I do kind of wish I went away, but I don't know. I don't want to say I regret it because like I did get a good education. I think the Siena alumni is really great and it's a great community there. And I knew that I was going to end up living here. So I think like now looking back, it made sense that I went to that school and then also stayed in this area because now I have that community of people and a lot of them stay local. So
Yeah. What'd you study at Siena?
I was an English major and then a writing and communications minor.
What made you interested in that?
I had a teacher in high school, shout out Mr. Maycock, and he just made me fall in love with like reading, writing, literature, all of the things. And at first I thought I wanted to be an English teacher. But then I got into the schools and was doing all of like the shadowing and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is not just like the whole landscape has changed. I think becoming a teacher now is much more difficult than it was like 15 years ago. So yeah, I'm happy with that decision.
Yeah. Well, you dropped a reference to your dad, aka Papa
Papa
Sauce.
Sauce.
I'm one of his biggest fans.
I know you are.
As you know. Great guy, and I've enjoyed my times talking to him about all sorts of stuff. But I wanted to ask you now, thinking about post college.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about what your life was like immediately post Siena.
Whew, what a journey. So I interned at News 10 ABC right after, well, like my last semester of college, and then I got a job there. I always say if you can work in the news business and survive and like come out alive, you can do anything. And so I would not ever change that experience, even though it was like terrible. Not like, well, some of the people, but like a lot of people were very nice, but the news business is just like not for the faint of heart.
What were you really doing?
I was a producer.
Okay.
So I was writing the newscast, but like, here's the thing. The hours are long. You don't get holidays off. Like the news never stops. So you never stop. And I think people don't realize that. And also the pay is not that great either. So you have to really, I think, okay, let's compare it to teaching. Being a teacher, I think you have to really love and be so passionate about it because you're not making a ton of money. So it's like you're not in it for the money. So you have to be in it, like your heart has to be in it. Because if not, you're just going to be miserable. And my heart was not in news. So I really wasn't happy. But it did bring me down to Charleston and I worked there for a couple years and that was an amazing experience. So again, like I don't regret it. And I think it prepared me for my career after that.
This is Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A city we've both spent some good time in.
My favorite city.
What do you love so much about it?
Like the history of it all, the cobbles, it's so romantic. And people probably will never think this about me, but like deep down, do I want to say this? I don't want to give up my cover.
Say it.
I'm like such a little mush ball on the inside. I know I come off like kind of aggressive, but on the inside, I'm a pretty big softie and I just love the romantic vibe of the town, like the cobblestone streets, like the old Victorian homes. All of it is just like if I ever meet someone, I want to like have my engagement photos there. I would love to get engaged there. Like if my future husband's listening to this,
yeah,
please take me.
Men, take notes.
Please get out the pad and paper and the pen and everything. Yeah, but also the food scene, like best food scene in America. I think the hospitality down there is unmatched. People will go down there and be like, where do you recommend? And I can give some places, but it's like truly anywhere you go, it's going to be good for the most part. Like 95%, I think.
I've been there a few times. The last time I was there was a few years ago, right before one of my really close friends was getting married. We went there for a bachelor party weekend.
Oh, yeah. It's a big bachelorette party spot now, which is kind of disappointing. But
we had a good old time, as the folks down there might say. Oh, yeah. We certainly went up and down King Street all night long.
Yeah, King Street is great. A lot of fun bars. When I lived down there, I refused to watch, what was it, Southern Charm, the show. Okay. Now I'll watch it.
Outer Banks is a show that I'm obsessed with.
Oh, yeah, that's good, too.
Like total guilty pleasure show.
But that's scripted. That's not like reality TV, you know?
It's close enough.
Yeah, that's true. It is kind of, yeah, fine.
So how long were you in Charleston?
About 2 years.
And what brought you back?
Papa Sauce had a stroke.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he had a stroke and that obviously, you know, I'm super close with my family, especially close with my parents, as a lot of you know. And when that happened, it was just kind of a wake up call of I need to be with my family right now. And I it was like one of the worst periods of my life because I was just waking up every day and feeling just like all this guilt that I wasn't there to help take care of him. I was like having panic attacks and just I was a mess, and it was just so clear like the universe was like, you gotta get your butt home, girl. Like, this is not gonna work for you. Cause I just, like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be away from him when he was going through all this stuff. So I think, like, a few months later, I was able to get out of my contract and move back.
So you come back here, you're
Yeah.
dealing with being a great daughter to
I
your
had also just
dad.
gone through a breakup.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was like the other part of it too. And I hated my job down there. And the Charleston church shooting had just happened. It was like so many things that were so just awful. And I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
That's a lot.
Let me get home, please.
Yeah. So when you got back home and you're adjusting to kind of the new reality being back here, I'm sure that took a lot to readjust back to being here. What was that initial time period like for you to kind of reconcile with your life back in the 518, dealing with your dad's health?
Yeah. Again, like I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty of it all because a lot of it's like super personal, but it was definitely one of the hardest, if not the hardest time of my life. And I I mean, I moved back, I had no job. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I didn't know what was gonna happen with my dad. Like there was just so much up in the air, and it was kind of like an identity crisis, I think. Like, what am I gonna do? What's my next step? Who am I? Like, I just got out of this relationship. I thought I was gonna marry this guy. Like, we went and looked at rings, like all of this stuff. And my brain was just like, what is my purpose now? And it was really hard for a really long time. I ended up nannying for this family, and I I told this little girl's mom, her name is Ella. She's like, I always said if I had a daughter, I would name my daughter Ella after her because I think she literally saved my life because she was battling brain cancer and I was helping their family and seeing the resilience and like the strength of this little girl. I met her when she was 4, and like I saw her walk for the first time. I saw her overcome all these obstacles, and like she gave me like the strength and just made me realize like if she can do it and like this little girl is like overcoming everything she is, then I can too. And she like healed me in so many ways.
That's
So
awesome. It's an
yeah,
amazing story. Thank
she's
you for sharing that.
amazing.
Yeah. So how old is she now?
She just turned, I think she'll be 12 this October.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you're back in the 518.
hmm
How much time period goes by before you start leaning into the world of content creation through your page?
So I moved back here when I was 26, and then I started the page about 2 years ago. So I was 30. So like it was 4 years. And I mean, if you would have told me back then that this is what I would be doing, I probably would have laughed at you. And I never even meant to really be doing this either, which I think people don't realize. Like I started the page and I was going to post, but never did I really have the intention of it becoming something that I could potentially make money off of. Never did I think I would be having all these different business owners reach out to me, like all this stuff. I just kind of thought like, I love going out to eat. People are always like, all my friends and family were always like, hey, Kristen, I'm going to be in Saratoga and I need a good brunch spot. Or, hey, Kristen, like a lot of my guy friends, they'd be like, I'm going on a date tonight. She lives in Latham. Where should I take her? And those questions were popping up over and over again. So I'm like, why don't I just post about where I go? And then maybe people will stop bothering me. They didn't, but it's fine.
Was there anything in particular, though, during that 4-year period that you described, kind of in between when you were coming back here and starting that page, that you think really shaped you in terms of giving you that light bulb that made you want to really start it beyond just what you laid out?
So I actually used to have a podcast where I talked about dating with one of my girlfriends. And that's what the page was pre-Saucy. Like I just changed the name and changed everything because I was like, I have like a couple thousand followers, like, and a lot of them were friends and family and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll just kind of switch the content. Like I was talking so much about my personal life and my dating life on this podcast. And like I was becoming unhinged. So I needed to stop. And I was like, as I get older and I'm really getting serious about wanting to meet someone, like I don't want to be talking about them on such a public platform, even though like I don't even know how many people are listening, probably like 3. So,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
fine.
well, that makes sense. I mean, I certainly want to ask you questions about dating and relationships,
Okay.
more so because I find that once you really start prioritizing your fitness and your wellness, you have to start thinking about other parts of your life. It just happens because
Hmm.
you want to upgrade your life across the board, including how you're thinking about your own dating and relational life. So let me first ask you though about your fitness routine.
Hmm.
So you, in my mind, have a very practical, way more normal approach to fitness, perhaps. And I don't want to completely speak for you, hence why I
Okay.
want to ask you the
Yeah.
question. But like, you obviously go out to eat, you enjoy a good cocktail, and I feel like in the conversations we've had, fitness in some ways is, I think, for you, a lot more practical for you to be able to enjoy that. Is that fair? Like, is that kind of a basic kind of summary of your fitness
I guess.
approach?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, like when more restaurants and stuff were reaching out to me, asking me to come in, I was getting like bombarded with food. And it got to a point where I was just like eating to eat. And that's when I started doing other content on my page besides just restaurants and food because I'm like, I'm eating so much. Like, I feel like this is becoming a little unhealthy and I need to stop. And then I also started working out. I was like working with a personal trainer 3 days a week when I wasn't working with him. I was going on a walk or doing something at home, like trying to balance it. But then I also realized, like, no matter how much I work out, if I'm still eating like crap all the time, nothing's really going to change. And it wasn't. So then last year I was like, all right, I need to start like cutting down on portions. I need to stop eating out like 6, 7 nights a week. Cause I literally was eating out every single day. Like it was so much. And I started just feeling terrible. Like I always felt my whole body just felt like swollen almost. Like it just, I don't know how else to describe it.
So how do you approach it now? Balancing, obviously, you're all over the place, doing great content, highlighting these restaurants and local businesses, but you obviously want to take care of yourself. How do you approach it now?
So, new approaches, like I can't control restaurants bringing things out to me. Like they're going to bring them out. But now I will take one bite of each thing. And usually there's always some sort of like salad or something in there. So like I'll try everything, but then I'm like eating the salad or eating the protein or like eating more of like the healthier thing that's on the table. And it's not like that every single time. I'm not perfect, but I do really try to cut down on like just be more aware of the amount I'm eating too, because sometimes I just get like so excited seeing all the food and I just like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what am I gonna have for dinner tonight? Like I just love food. So
What kind of food do you really love the most? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff you've highlighted across the capital region, but what do you really
I mean,
enjoy?
I love Italian food, obviously. Like give
Right.
me pizza, pasta, Parmesan cheese on top. Like I'm set. Bagels,
Yeah.
bread. Like but I also like I love Mexican food. I love a lot of things. I don't know. But Italian's probably at the top.
Yeah. So do you have a particular workout regimen now in terms of how you're kind of connected to how you're approaching your content, your food? Like, what does that look like? I know we've done some hot works together. We've gotten hot together at Hot Works.
Yeah. I think right now I'm much more focused on the wellness piece of things than the fitness. With this page specifically, it's so much work. And I think a lot of people don't realize I have a full time job as well. So this is like my side hustle, but it's also a second full time job. And it has just become so much. And I was getting so stressed and just feeling like I was constantly a chicken running around with my head cut off that I'm like, all right, I need to kind of bring it back and focus on like my piece before, because I literally just stopped working out because I was like, I don't have time. And that's like, can I swear?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. So, he's laughing at me. It is. It's just an excuse. And I think you make time for the things you want to make time for. And that to me just like stopped being a priority. And now I'm like, all right, I got to get my mind like back and like in check. And then I think the fitness piece will come with that. But I do love Hot Works. So that's probably going to be my new
Yeah.
thing.
It's great. I know we had a great time and we talked a lot about it both before and afterwards. And I'm glad you also talked about your full-time job because I, like you, also have a whole other world full-time
Hmm.
job in the political consulting lobbying space. And I think sometimes it's easy to fall into the trap of people kind of seeing you as this social media personality. Sometimes that happens for me too. You certainly have, way more followers than I do, but I imagine you fall into this trap of like when people actually meet you in real life, it's like you kind of wish they can. Well, I don't want to speak for you. Let me ask you the question. So, when you have people who meet you in real life, let's just say men who might meet you in real life on a
Okay.
potential dating situation, what is that like to actually try to show them the real you?
Well, it depends. So, like, obviously, I've been on the dating apps, and there have been men that have reached out to me and they're like, "Oh, I follow your page." And that's fine, but I don't really love when that's like the first thing they say, because then I'm like, I feel like you have this idea of me in your head already that might not actually be me, even though I do think I'm pretty authentic on my page, but I kind of feel like then they have like a leg up going into our date because they know all these things about me, maybe depending on how long they've followed me. And I know nothing about them or like what they do or anything like that. So it's kind of like a weird dynamic. It's also hard to explain to people like how much goes into it. I think people just think I'm like running around like getting all this free stuff and like, yay, me. But it's like you have no idea the time that it takes outside of that, like the editing and all like the voiceover and writing the caption, all these things. Um, so I'm like super busy. And these men are like, well, how busy can you be?
What's some of the craziest stuff that you've gotten in like your DMs or texts? I know you've gotten some colorful stuff.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't get a lot of DMs from men. And
Interesting.
everybody's always like, I don't believe you. I'm like, no, men are not sliding in my DMs. If
Okay.
anything, I wish they would more. Like, please, I'm single. Slide in. Just don't be a creep. Um, the people in my DMs are the women. They're like, you look so good today. You look so happy. I'm going to brunch. Where should I go? Like, where do you get those jeans? This, that. Like, the ladies are,
The ladies are sliding in.
they're in the DMs, which I love. Like, it's so fun because they're usually just like really sweet and
I mean, is it just do you ever have ladies who make inquiries into your
no.
orientation? No, or just
No.
all like affirmational?
No, it's like very affirmational. Like
Okay.
one woman like DM'd me the other day and was just like, I know I don't know you and I don't want this to sound weird, but I just want you to know that I appreciate so much what you're doing and I find so much value in your page and you must be working so hard and just thank you. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so nice." I think I cried.
So beyond more men sliding into your DMs without being creepy about it,
Oh
how can men
god.
do better with Saucy?
I don't know. Just be normal.
What does that look like for you
I'm
now?
not sure.
Well, I know you have opinions on like where guys are on in terms of the dating realm. So like let's lay it out there. Like where are guys messing up? How can guys be doing better?
So I don't want to put it all on the men. I think as a society, we have too many options. So I think a lot of us go into dating and, w- we go on these dates and they're like, well, I like the color red and you like the color green. So I don't like you. And I'm going to just go back to these 1,000 girls that I can swipe through on Hinge or Bumble or whatever. Like, and I'll find somebody that agrees with me on everything. And I think that's unrealistic. Like, you're never going to agree with anybody on every single thing. And I think we've just come into this pattern where we forget that, like, you have to fight for, like, your relationship and, like, your potential marriage. It's not, like, going to be rainbows and butterflies all the time. And I
Yeah.
think nobody wants to fight for it anymore.
I'm glad you said that because that's currently my frustration. I've gone on some great dates with women recently, and we have these conversations about do you want kids? What types of values do you have? And ultimately, my as somebody who used to make work my entire life,
Hmm.
I feel like that's a lot of what's happening for both men and women, where it's so convenient to use work as an excuse to not put some time and effort into a relationship. And then you wake up one day and you realize like you're just not fulfilled.
Let me tell you about a date I went on recently.
Please.
I was telling Papa Sauce about this last night. He was so proud of me. And I was like, yes. And he literally said, he goes, what an asshole. I was like, right? I know. So the topic of kids, I feel like, is something that I've been hearing come up more and more. It's like one of the first questions now that people are asking, like, do you want kids? Do you not? And I'm at this point in my life, I'm kind of up in the air about it. So this guy asked me about kids, and I'm like, I can't give you a definite like yes or no. Like the idea of, I feel like I might regret it if I don't have them, but I have my career, I've built this platform, and I don't know that I'm willing to give that up. And he was like, so what you're saying is, he didn't say this. He said, so your job is, he goes, if you think your job is more important than a kid, then we're just not going to work. And I said, that's not what I said. I said, I want to have both because I think you can. And I think that's like the way the world is going. Also, there's not many like one income households anymore. Both people are working. And he made a lot of money, and he goes, well, I'd be making the money. And I was like, that's great. But like the way I was raised, and I said this to him, I said, the way I was raised was my dad always said to me, you need to make your own money. You need to be financially independent. Do not rely on anyone to support you that way. And he was just like sitting there listening. I'm like, there's a 50-50 shot we get divorced. So then what? And he was like, well, you'd get half. And I'm like, I don't love that. And I'm like, also, I have the opportunity, like some of these influencers make a lot of money. And he looks me dead in the eye and he goes, you're never going to make more money than me. And I was like, watch me.
There you go.
Like literally, I just like wanted to get up and leave. And he was like, this is the other thing that made me want to push my chair out and just walk out. He was like, I think women, they're really liking this whole empowerment thing right now and like being women in business. And he goes, I just think that this isn't going to last. And one day you're all going to wake up and realize like all you really want is a man to just like take care of you and make the money and like be housewives, like where you belong. Where I belong? Ew.
Yeah, that's a crazy extreme kind of point of view on it.
He also said he does not believe that relationships would work if the woman makes more money than the man. And I was like, I could not disagree with you more. Like
Well,
I
that's
think
where
if
our
you're
society's going anyways.
if you're a secure man, it shouldn't matter because, and I don't fully blame him for this. I think historically, like the man was the breadwinner. He took care of the family. The woman stayed home. They took care of the kids. Fine. But the fact of the matter is the world is changing. With that being said, I think men in their head, like you guys put a lot of emphasis on your career and like that's success to you. But I think success can come in so many other forms. And we just have to figure out like where, like what else we're bringing to the table. Like I want my husband to be bringing so much more to our marriage than just like making money.
I think it goes though into, and I mean, I'm not trying to defend this guy to be clear, but I think it goes into kind of some camps that I find myself kind of testing when I am with a woman on a date. There was an episode where I dropped a line from our friend Omar McGill, who we were with at the Rivers the other night, Schenectady County legislator, who gave me the line, red flags ain't decorations. Because Lord knows I used to look way past red flags when I had a very different sense of myself, when I was much heavier. And so now it's great because I can go out with a beautiful woman, but not be obsessed with simply just how, frankly, how hot I think she is. It's more so like, what is her personality like? Is she intelligent? Is she generous? Do I enjoy just being around her? But I find that there's sort of the camp of, and this goes, I think, probably for guys too. I don't want to make this just about women, but do you want attention or affection? And are you looking for a sponsor or a partner? Because those are very different things.
That's fair. And here's the thing. If you're a woman and you want to marry a man like that, like no judgment, go for it. That's just not what I want. Like, I'm sure there are many women that would love to just stay home and raise their kids and have like their husband make money. And that's fine if that works for you. Like, I'm not saying one thing is right or wrong. but I think you need to like go into dating knowing what you want and being comfortable like speaking that and not caring what the outcome is.
Yeah. I think the average guy is really struggling though, because social media has
Yes.
convinced women generally that they all deserve this mystical. I mean, the song last year that blew up on TikTok, right? 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund. Like that's a real thing. I feel like every woman in the world thinks like that's the guy they want.
Those guys like don't exist.
Yeah. So if you're kind of like closer into that camp, generally as a guy, you're gonna do pretty well. But the average guy out there, generally, from my perspective, is struggling, which is why, like some of the male guests I've had, we've kind of talked through some of the facts. Like more women are graduating from college, more women are just succeeding across the board educationally. Like the world is trending in a great way. Women are crushing it.
Yeah, and men just need to step it up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are the biggest ways that men can step up for you?
I think communication and emotional intelligence is huge for me. Like yeah, I want someone that's ambitious and has a good career and like makes their own money. That's fine. But like can you like get deep? Can you have a conversation with me and like get into the nitty-gritty of it all? Like I love that. Can you clearly communicate to me like we don't need to be talking all day every day, but like communicate with me in the morning like, "Hey, this is what I've got going on today. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you later." Like these things are so easy, but men are just missing the mark on it so often. I'm like, tell me good morning and good night, and like I'll be thrilled. And many men can't even do that. I go to Arizona. I was talking to a guy. He didn't even ask me like he didn't say have a safe flight. He didn't ask me if I made it there okay. Like these are very simple things that like show us that you care.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. Like the bar is so low. It's so low. Like I don't have very high expectations and I don't think many other girls do either. But for some reason I think men just think that you guys have to be like superheroes and we're not asking for that. Just like communicate. I think that's where you guys get like stuck in your heads or something.
Well, sometimes, and I'll say this as a guy who I would describe myself as pretty emotionally intelligent, very available, is that I have found at times that women are not used to exactly your point to men who are confident communicators. And so sometimes when they meet one, they are so grateful to be around that it puts them in the
Like a
friend zone
friend
category.
I think that girl is not ready for a relationship
I would
then. I think
agree.
she thinks she is, but there's a level of immaturity there. And I know that because I've been there and I've been that girl that's like, "Oh, but he's so nice." And it's like, that's exactly what you want. Like don't you want your husband to be nice? Like
Well, these days for me, sexy is intimacy and the ability to communicate clearly. When I get a text that clearly communicates how they're thinking and feeling about something, it's awesome.
yeah, it's the best.
Even if it's not what I want to hear. And it's great when it's something I do want to hear, but I want to go back to the conversation about kids
Mhm.
because I have found too on recent dates I've gone on that it's probably the first or second question once we're sort of in that let's like get real time
Yeah.
that comes up. My struggle with this is I feel like people are jumping to Z rather than starting at A, which is for me, like, I don't know, honestly, if I want to have kids to the same reasons you just pointed out. There's a lot of things I'm really excited about in my life. I take them seriously. I take marriage very seriously and parenting very seriously.
Mhm.
And so I say, honestly, I don't know because for me, part of the equation would be wanting to get to know that person just to get to know that person for me in a healthy way to decide, do I love the idea of being a parent with this woman?
Mhm. Yeah. No, I think that's huge and I think you make a good point. And I'm guilty of this sometimes. Like when I go on a date, I'm like, I already don't have a lot of time. I don't want to waste time. So I'm like trying to gather all this information, but it's like you can't fully get to know someone on one date. Like it is going to take time. You do have to be patient and like you need to spend the time to get to know that person. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. It scares me to spend all that time to feel like it was for nothing, even though like the reasonable side of my brain knows it's not for nothing because then you always gain something from it, right? Like you always usually learn something about yourself or like your style in dating or just things you're looking for, not looking for, deal breakers, non deal breakers.
So what are some of your deal breakers right now?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is like communication. If you can't communicate, like I it's just not gonna work. Honesty and like someone like if you're not hardworking, if I feel like you don't have ambition, if you're not like hungry for it, that's just so unattractive to me.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I just have found that in my fitness and wellness journey, and sometimes people may think, why are you so obsessed about talking about dating and relationships? Well, number one, in full disclosure, I'm a hopeless romantic. I love the idea of love and falling in love. But I am convinced that as you focus more on your fitness and wellness, and not just physical fitness, but just your mental
Yeah.
wellness, spiritual, you gain that ability to have the confidence to approach those tougher conversations. They become easier because you're more equipped to handle them and you're not as freaked out about them.
Yeah. I agree. I think going back to this guy that I went on a date with more recently, I don't know that I would have had the courage even a year ago to be so blunt and honest the way I was with him just about like the whole kids, money, all of that stuff. Like I stood my ground and was like, "No, like I want my career. I'm going to have it." And like if you're not okay with that, then like you're going to have to walk away and that's okay. We're not meant for each other.
There's this idea that I have talked about on other episodes, and I refer to it as shooting on yourself. And by that, I mean, I think a lot of people in our generation have made these huge life decisions, especially right around COVID. You and I both know a lot of people who got married right around COVID. They were in
Mhm.
sort of couples or situationships. And then I think a lot of them just defaulted to thinking, oh, well, let's get married or let's have kids. And it's almost on societal autopilot because people think that they should get married or should have kids for whatever reasons, their family expectations, cultural upbringing, whatever. And I have found a lot of those people have made some major mistakes, whether it's cheating on their partners, whether it's coming to the realization that they really never wanted to be a parent. Have you
Mhm.
encountered any of that in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see people all the time that they have kids and I don't want to say they regret it because I don't think they regret it, but I think they're like, "Wow, if I could go back, I might do things a little bit differently next time and maybe not." I think a lot of people jumped during COVID because it was like you literally had nothing else to do. So you had to sit with your thoughts, which was probably very scary for a lot of people. And it's like, well, what can I do to like just get out of this? And it's like, let's get married. Let's have a kid. Let's do this because like there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. So when you think about your life now and all these different things you're doing, your full-time job, the Saucy Sarasi brand and content, navigating any element of a personal life you can fit in with all of that, what do you really want the most?
Like personally or professionally?
All of it.
I mean, I want eventually I would like to find and I'm working on finding more balance between my full-time job and the Saucy page and having like a healthy balance between that and my personal life because I feel like for so long and I realized this I was recently in Arizona and since I started the Saucy page, this Arizona trip was the first trip I have taken that was just for me. Like there was no deals attached to it. There was no like, oh, I've got to make this content or that. Like I had no obligation. And that really made me realize how much I've been neglecting my personal life. And, I see my friends a lot, but they're coming with me to these restaurants and these different collaborations. And it's like, yeah, I'm spending time with them and it's great, but is it really meaningful time? Like, I feel like it's not, and that's not okay with me. So that was kind of my goal going into 2025 is finding that balance and being able to make time for my friends, my family, like my niece and nephew, and my dating life. Like, I feel like I am so ready to meet someone and have a partner, but that is going to take work from me too. And making that time for them because I don't have a lot of time. So I need to do that. And I think a lot of that was also like getting my mind right. And
Yeah. Well, the way you just articulated making time, it was probably one of the most flattering text messages I got from a woman that I recently went on a date with. And we had been on a few dates, and I certainly liked the idea of continuing to get to know her. And to her credit, she just communicated very clearly that she did not feel right now that she could devote time that was really required.
Mhm.
But she left it on a good note, kind of hoping we could reconnect down the road, and certainly I'm open to that. But I just think that's so thoughtful, and I think that you've laid that out in such an
The
intelligent way.
self-awareness.
Self-awareness is so big, it's so
Yeah,
attractive, but it does take work.
it does, yeah.
It takes work to actually make a decision to prioritize it in terms of time. So how does that actually look for you now? Like what kinds of things do you feel like you're being more intentional about in trying to make it more part of your life?
I mean, I'm at this point where I'm trying to really reevaluate like what my true goals are for this page. Like, what do I really want? What am I really passionate about? What is getting me excited? And that's what I want to go after and focus on. I also, when I started the page 2 years ago, in my brain, I was like, all right, I'm going to post 3 times a week. And that was like something that I needed to do to just stay on track and be consistent. And I think sometimes I forget that I'm the one in control here. Like, I'm not going to get fired if I don't post 3 times a week, like 3 new reels or whatever. I'm posting on my stories every day. But for some reason in my brain, it feels like there's a consequence if I don't have at least 3 collaborations I'm doing every week. And I'm starting to really try and like retrain my brain to think to myself, okay, the page isn't going to fail if I don't post 3 times in a week. Like, I'm not going to get in trouble. No one's coming to yell at me. Like, all these just irrational things. And it takes self-awareness. Like, for a long time, I just didn't even realize I was doing that. Now I am. So now it's like, all right, I need to work on.
Well, you might want to post more consistently if you're trying to get more guys to slide into your DMs if you
Oh,
feel like that
God.
you need to step it up there.
I don't know that that's how I want to like meet someone per se, but I mean, I'm not against it. I guess it would depend on what they said, but
What are some can you think of like just the funniest, most ridiculous thing that somebody's tried to pull on you, like a move, like just complete backfire move that some guys ever tried to pull, either like a DM or just in person with you? Like just laugh out loud, like it's just like a bad pickup line or something like that.
I don't know. I feel like I just erase these things from my brain.
It's too traumatic, so you just let it go.
It's just like gone. It's like past trauma, so it's just like a blacked out from my memory.
Yeah.
I mean, within the past 6 months, I did have a guy slide into my DMs and like I can't remember exactly what he said, but he had some cheesy line like wanting to take me out. And so I looked at his profile. He has a wedding ring on. I'm like, bro, really? I'm like, the women of the world these days, we're the FBI, okay? You think we're not going to find out if you're married or have a girlfriend? We will.
Well, pre-selection's one thing, but if you're actually married and doing that, that's pretty audacious.
He told me that they were in the process of a divorce, which I don't know that I believe, but that's fine.
I would not believe that.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
I was like, I straight up called him out too. I said, you realize in your profile picture, before I look at anything else, that you have a wedding ring on, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'm in the process of a divorce. I was like, okay, change the picture. Very easy. Change the photo.
So with all the things in your life, is there a type of like movie genre that would apply to generally like your life as a whole? Like, would you describe it as like currently as like a rom-com, as an action?
Oh, it's probably
adventure?
a comedy.
A comedy?
Yeah, like a dark one.
Who would play you in a movie? Have you ever thought of that?
What's the girl's name? She plays April in Parks and Rec.
Oh,
Aubrey.
Aubrey. Oh, yeah.
That is so me. Like her in Parks and Rec, I'm like, that's me.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza.
Like just laughing at people when they fall, but like also hoping they're okay. Just the dark humor. Like that's so me. And I feel like she really does have a soft side too, somewhere down there. That just many people don't see, but it's there. And that's me.
So you've talked about that a little bit. Are there other things about you that you feel like might be misunderstood?
I mean, I have a really bad resting bitch face, so I feel like people seem to think I'm really miserable all the time, and I'm not. Like that's just how my face lays, and I can't help it. I've had a couple people say to me like, before I met you, I thought like you hated me, and I was like, oh, I definitely didn't. I'm so sorry you felt that way, or like that I was like really aggressive or like kind of like bitchy, and I am totally self-aware enough to realize that I do come across like I have a tough exterior for sure, but I think it's like a defense mechanism because I don't want people to mess with me. I feel like I've been messed with enough. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's like a privilege to get the soft side.
Yeah, I certainly have appreciated getting to know both the brand of the sauce and the real Kristen Suraci a little bit over the last couple years, but I wanted to transition to a different topic.
Okay.
You have multiple, not just one, multiple signature cocktails
Yeah.
at different spots around the capital region.
Yeah.
Because I have my own thoughts about alcohol for myself, but
Yeah.
for you, like what got you into that line of kind of branding specifically with now, I think, what do you have three of them?
Yep. Um, I'm always wanting to do things that are different that like nobody else is doing. And I also just thought it would be so cool to like see my name on a menu somewhere. And the first Saucy Straussy cocktail is at 353 in Troy. You were there,
Yeah, it
right? You
was.
came to the cocktail party.
Yep.
Um, and that was just like a really organic thing. Like I started going to that bar, I fell in love with their cocktails, and I just saw something so special in them. And I felt like a lot of people didn't know that that bar existed. And I'm like, they're making arguably the best cocktails in the capital region. And so many people don't know about them. So like, how can I help them? And then, I was talking to the owner, Brent, who has become a good friend of mine. Like, I literally feel like they're family there now. And I kind of like threw the idea. I was like, what if we did like a collab cocktail? And I don't know how he felt about it like at first, but then like, I don't know, he must have grown to love me as much as I love him and his bar and like everything he's done. And we collaborated. And I feel like it's just such a cool thing to be able to like showcase a business in that way. And I feel like if I can help like a small business get more attention because of a cocktail, like why wouldn't I? And most of the cocktails I've made can be a mocktail too, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's awesome you're doing that, and I do want to ask you about kind of the like alcohol-free movement and stuff, and about your cocktails. But I think it's awesome that you've consistently been true to a lot of the conversations we have had. That you just started this page in part because you just wanted to help promote these small businesses to all these people asking you for help, whether it was a guy on where to take a girl out on a date
Yeah.
or just what coffee shops are open. I can't begin to tell you how many times I have sent your page to friends of mine who come up from the city when sessions happening at the Capitol,
Yeah.
because people complain about downtown Albany and where to go. And I was like, well, number one, you got to think regionally, not just
Well,
Albany.
yeah, we have like, it's such an interesting area, right? Because there are like so many little pockets, I feel.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this area is very unique in that we have so many local businesses that when you go to other cities, you don't see, that's not the norm. Like, I talk to girls that I work with all the time, like in my day job, and they're like, oh, yeah, like we don't have, like they're going to Starbucks every day. They don't really have local coffee shops. Closest one is a half hour away. Or like my one friend, she waitresses part time at Applebee's. And I'm like, why don't you go to a local spot? She's like, there's really not like, she's like, we don't have that here. And so the more conversations I've had like that, I'm realizing like we have an advantage here. Like we have something really special that people should know about. And I mean, in 2025, I feel like owning a small business is harder than ever. So we need to be supporting them and like rallying around them so that they can survive, because this economy is no joke.
Definitely. And small businesses struggle a lot with how to promote themselves. And we've
Mm-hmm.
both done a lot of collabs with small businesses. We're both brand ambassadors for Bear Blends. Shout out to Bear
Love
Blends.
Bear.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. And we have both done, I think, a great job in our own ways of kind of being true to who we are and how we have promoted those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about kind of what you want to do in the future with this, you mentioned 353. You have cocktails, I believe, now at Rivers, and I was also at that event. That was a great time.
Yep, one there, which I think, well, I think it's over now. It was just like a limited
Oh, it
time,
was a
but
limited
I'm
time?
hoping that we'll do it again. I
Okay.
hope it was.
And then Bocage is
And
the
then
third
Bocage,
one.
yes.
Bocage
Yes, Bocage is great.
in Saratoga. How'd that
The
one
saucy
happen?
sunset, so good, and it's totally different from the cocktail at 353, which I think is really cool. I mean, I just love Zach and Clark. They're the owners of Bocage, and that kind of became my spot when I would go up to Saratoga. So I got to know them. I got to know the bartenders there, and I just pitched the idea to them one day when I was in there, and they were like, let's do it. And they've been so great. I'm so thankful. And it's like, It's a really good cocktail. And again, it's totally different than the one at 353. It's has like a Lambrusco in it, which is like a sparkling wine, I think. I'm not actually totally sure. I'm not a wine expert, so don't take my word for that. But it's like a red Lambrusco with grapefruit and what else? We literally just posted about it today. I should know this, but it's delicious is what I'll say. It kind of tastes like a red sangria-esque.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. And when they pour it, it literally looks like a sunset. It's like red and orange.
Yeah.
And it looks like it wouldn't be a summer drink, but it is. It's very light. Because I don't know. For some reason, for me, when I think like red wine, I just think winter and like heavy. I don't know.
Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
It's very light and just, it's like a little fruity. It's not too sweet. It's delicious.
So you've made, I think of you and Danny, because you've collaborated on like some great promos
Yeah.
for like Kiramia tequila and some other stuff.
Love Kiramia too. That's my next goal. I'm going to put it out into the universe. I want to make a cocktail with someone using Kiramia tequila because I don't drink a lot of tequila. Kiramia is my favorite. Shout out Melissa. She created an amazing product.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But I wanted to ask you about kind of alcohol and how it's being viewed. Because on one hand, you have more people, including myself, who have made a decision to go alcohol free. So when you think about the way you promote alcohol and just this growing movement, as well as people who are embracing sobriety, being alcohol free, what's your take on that in relation to how you think about it and the way you want to promote it?
Yeah. So I think it's really cool that a lot of these different restaurants and bars are now all offering mocktails, and that's amazing. And obviously, like, I have a very healthy relationship with alcohol. Like, I'm going out, I'm having one or two cocktails and I'm done. So like when I'm promoting these drinks, I'm not like, let's get wasted and party. Like, it's just not that. I do think it's important to have the mocktail option for people so that it's like everybody can go and enjoy. What I'm not about is if you have made the decision to drink or not drink, to make anybody feel bad about that. I know some people that are like, you shouldn't drink. This is terrible for you. I'm like, listen, Jesus drank wine. Like, come on. Okay. It's good for the heart.
That's a great talking point, by the way.
I just think whatever you want to do with your life, like, that's up to you. And I'm in no place to judge, but don't make me feel bad about my decisions. Like, I'm respecting what you want to do. So also respect me.
That's a good.
And I don't think everyone that drinks alcohol has like a problem or is like has a relationship with alcohol in an unhealthy way. You know, like there's so much gray there. So
I think at minimum being mindful in the way you just laid out, that you kind of have this intentional approach, like I'm going to have one or two drinks. That makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate you laying it out that way. But I wanted to ask you also about specifically some of the wellness collabs that we've both done. We mentioned Bear Blends. We're both brand ambassadors for there. Zappi and Fryer. Shout out to our dentists.
Love them.
They're so fun. That was
best
one of my
dentist ever.
That was one of my favorite episodes, just having them both in here and talking with them.
I love them so much.
Except me being a dumbbell, I had no idea they were sisters before we walked in.
Wait, really?
I didn't know. I did not pick that up.
Funny.
Yeah. So we had a good laugh about that right at the top. So you've done some promotional stuff for wellness, whether it's dentists, whether it's cosmetic stuff that you've done. What is your kind of current approach to your wellness regimen?
I don't know.
Who'll do a collab with you?
No.
No, I'm just teasing.
I mean, like, I go to the dentist twice a year like I'm supposed to. I go to my annual physical every year and lie to my doctor and tell her I'm getting my daily serving of fruits and veggies.
Well, some of the stuff I think
I'm doing
you've
the best I can.
Yeah,
okay.
You're doing well.
That's what I'm doing. I don't know. I wash my face before I go to bed at night.
Yeah. No, you're looking great.
I don't know.
But some of this, I guess, let me ask you more specifically. You've done some collabs, to the best of my knowledge, with things like whether it's like facials or like just more so aesthetic stuff.
Okay, yeah.
How have some of those experiences been for you?
I mean, I think the aesthetic world is so interesting because I know a lot of people have different feelings about like Botox and filler and all that stuff. And again, my whole approach is like, you do what you want to do. You do what makes you feel good. If getting lip filler is going to make you feel better about yourself, go for it. If getting a nose job is going to make you feel better, do it. It's not my place to tell you what you should or shouldn't do when it comes to like injecting or like changes with your face, anything like that. I love Kelly at the beauty gym. I usually go to her like once a quarter for a facial, and that just feels like it's time for me. My phone is down, it's away, and it's more of like a self-care thing than me like really caring about my skin, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, I get my Botox. I do whatever. I'm pretty honest about it. Um, but I don't know that I have any one approach. It's kind of like, how am I feeling? What do I feel like I need? I don't ever want to not like look like me. Um,
That all makes sense. Have you had any judgment though from people like DMing you or like calling? Sometimes with these procedures, I think people get hung up on what other people are going to think of them for getting even something like lip filler.
yeah, so I have gotten lip filler, and I remember I was dating this guy a few years ago, and usually like the first morning after you get filler, you might be a little swollen. And we like woke up in the morning and he was like, "You look like you got hit in the face with a soccer ball." I'm like, "Thank you so much." Really makes me feel good. And I like looked in the mirror and I was so swollen. I was like, "Oh wow, I kind of do." um, but again, no, I think if you're doing I think you should always do it for you. Don't do it for other people. So if you're doing it for yourself, then hopefully you won't really care as much about the judgment of other people because it's something you wanted and it's going to make you feel better. Then go for it.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing it because whatever guy you're dating is like, "Oh, you have small lips, like I don't like them," or whatever. I wouldn't get filler for that. But again, teach their own. I mean, who am I to judge?
Thicker lips have their benefits,
I
you
don't
know?
know.
Yeah. But whatever floats, whatever you're into, whatever makes you look good, feel good, to your point.
Yeah, I think it's up to you. Like what is going to make you happy? What's going to make you feel good?
Yeah. Ultimately, you have to live with yourself
Yeah,
every day.
yeah.
Like, doesn't, I think a lot of times people get so hyper obsessed, and that's how I know someone has a lot of work to do on themselves, when you can tell they're just so hyper obsessed and insecure
It's
about
like an
what everyone else.
insecurity,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to build the I don't give a fuck muscle, the
I'm
IDGAF
working on
muscle.
that.
You're doing pretty good though. I see it coming in.
I don't know. We're trying.
But
Again, tough exterior, soft
yeah,
interior.
but you can poke fun at yourself for the work you're doing
Yeah, no,
to
I
strengthen
totally
it.
can. Like, you're never going to catch me being like, "I'm an influencer and I'm the best there is." Like, if those words ever come out of my mouth in a serious way, everyone in the world has my permission to slap me across the face. And I've told all of my friends that. I'm like, if I ever start talking like that, please.
So people use that word though in a very derogatory way a
Yeah.
lot. Like, ugh,
I don't even
you're.
really like it, to be honest with
What
you.
do you like thinking of yourself as?
Small business supporter.
Okay.
I don't know.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, I think of myself as an advocate. I mean, that's a language
Yeah.
that I
I
think of
mean,
more so in the campaigns and advocacy
am
space.
I influencing people to go to a restaurant or go to a person that does Botox, whatever? Probably. I'm sure people are going to lots of places because I recommended it, but I don't know. The word influencer just feels icky to me still. Like, I don't know that even when I'm introducing myself to people, I have a hard time. They're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I have this Instagram page and
Well, it's like the social media version of, and not to get too loaded with spirituality, but even thinking of the term Christian.
yeah."
That term is so loaded. So when people ask me, I'm like, I consider myself spiritual, and I love the
Well, and there's
idea
so
of who
many like
Jesus
branches of
was.
Christianity,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, I guess it's kind of like the influencer world too.
yeah,
I mean, there are so many creators that do so many different things. Like even just saying like content creator, that makes me feel a little bit better.
I
I
do
don't know.
too. Except it's just I get weird about people talking about, oh, like I make content, I do content. Like we throw around content like every other word now, and
Yeah.
it like denigrates to me a little bit the creative process. Like not everybody can actually do content. Like it takes a level of creative ability to
Yeah.
come up with something. And I actually think creation, the act of creating, is a divine gift. I take that pretty seriously. Like if I come up with an idea or something, it I'm going to generally try to put it out there, and if people crap on it, whatever, like it's fun to just treat it a little bit impersonally and see what people respond to.
Hmm.
But if you have a vision for something, I believe firmly you have a responsibility to work like hell to make it a reality.
Yeah, I think it all is passion. I think if you have a passion behind it, you'll succeed. And I think that's what this page has taught me cuz like I just truly love what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
it's like when you love what you're doing and you're like passionate about it, I think you can only find success.
But there is a balance between passion and talent because a lot of people are
Yeah.
passionate about all sorts of stuff, but they may not be good at it.
But I think you could become good at it if you work hard enough.
True. That certainly is and you always have to have the mindset
Yeah.
of getting better. Like our mutual friend Mike Behill,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things he's ever said to me, and I think about it all the time, is like your fitness journey is always just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I'm not,
that's how I look at content creating too. And like
yeah,
this page, I'm like, we can always do more. We can always be better. Like, how can I improve my videos? How can I improve like my caption writing, my voiceovers? Like, I feel like you always have to want to be learning.
you have to be learning and you have to be willing to confront who you are. Like one of the things I know, and I'm always impressed by with your growth, is thinking about some of our conversations, even from when I was really just starting
Mm-hmm.
and you had built up your page quite a bit. But I remember some of the conversations we had about how you weren't as comfortable being on camera.
Yeah.
And now I feel like that's some of the most entertaining stuff you do are just your day in the life stories. Like even I got your story and I was joking with you about it before we started recording
Yeah.
of you joking about being nervous about the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I love that. It's just so human to me.
Yeah, and I do think that's important. And I realized that I was saying that to so many people, like you need to humanize your content. And I like kept giving that advice to people, but I realized I wasn't taking my own advice. And I'm like, oh, I need to probably practice what I preach a little bit.
Yeah. I think for myself, it's about telling an authentic story to who I am, what I've overcome, and how I want to hopefully help people, whether it's just having fun, being entertaining, and being any level of inspiration I can for people to prioritize their fitness and wellness. And for you, I feel like you do a great job just
Prioritizing like and making people go out to eat.
Yeah. No, but in a way, no, well, don't sell
Just
yourself
forcing
short.
people to go to restaurants.
No, don't sell yourself short because there's so many people who convince themselves that they are not entitled to have fun and actually live a full life. And what you do, which is so brilliant to me, is you empower people with all the tools you've created to have people be able to curate their own experience around here. Like you really have done a great job specifically promoting all these restaurants and small businesses and even the way you document it. Like I really do because I think you have helped me get a lot of people have better dates. Like we talked about the date thing.
Hell
Like
yeah.
I've sent your list to some guys who had no ability to set up a real date. I've helped them
I love that.
I've helped them look pretty darn good
That's awesome.
by using your
That
content.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your hopes for everything you're doing now when you think about like the immediate next steps for you?
We talked a little bit about like the balance of it all.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a priority this year. And then just getting like a better focus on the direction I want to take this page. Like I always said,
Right,
I
you
want to
had mentioned
be
that.
the female version of Guy Fieri and just drive around the country in a pink Range Rover and go to all these different cool, small, like local businesses, places. So I'm like, how do I move towards that? Do I buy a pink Range Rover? Like, I don't know. I'm not buying a
How
pink
much
Range Rover.
do you have a 5 or 10-year plan for how long it's going to take for you to have like a Tucci in Italy show on
No, I
Disney
don't.
Plus? Would you ever want to do that? Like do like Saucy in another country?
100%.
Where would you go?
I feel like every day I'm joking that I'm gonna move to Italy and I've never even been there. Like I feel like when I get there, it's gonna be a problem because there's a 50-50 shot I don't come back.
Yeah, Saucy Italia. Let's manifest that.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be really cool. So like go to different countries and do like different food content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me close it out though with the capital region. We're
Okay.
sitting here in the 518.
Yeah.
What areas around here do you think don't get enough love for the density and quality of restaurants and things to do?
Schenectady for sure. I also think down in the Hudson area has some really cool spots that people don't think about, which like I know it's a little bit of a drive, but it's like an hour. So it's not too bad. But Schenectady for sure, I feel like has a weird reputation that it does not deserve. Like I think Mila's in Schenectady is arguably the best restaurant in the capital region. And everybody's
So
like,
good.
no, Saratoga. And I'm like, no. They have some great restaurants up there. Are they the best? I don't think so.
Well, I think it's also about a vibe and an experience. Like being
Yeah.
able to have that knowledge of all this, and that's the best thing to me about your page for people who really want to invest in your content, is that you can build up a repertoire of all these cool spots that actually exist. So
Mhm.
you can be the cool person who people can come to and be like, "Hey, I need a recommendation." And, if you want to give some credit as a source to Saucy Sarasi, you should obviously do that.
I do wish more people would tag me when they go places. So if you're listening to this, like so many people are like, "Oh, we went to this place tonight because of your recommendation." I'm like, "Show me. I want to see what you had. Like I want to see you enjoying it and like tag me in your stories. I want to see, I don't
Yeah.
know."
That's always good. And I've gotten some mentions of that, of people who've tried a gym or someplace because I
Yeah.
recommended it. And that's like PSA, that's actually very helpful to anybody who's a promoter, content creator, influencer, so small business supporter, advocate. It helps us do what we do. But also, I think more importantly, it just gives us affirmation that what we're doing is worth it.
Well, it also helps me realize like what content is working, like what's not, and maybe I then look at that video and I'm like, okay, like did I do anything different with that video that like maybe attracted them to want to go to that place or something like that. But yeah, it also just like makes me happy to see people like going and enjoying stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So let me close out with a question. When you think about where you are now as Kristen, as Saucy,
Hmm.
when you think back to those early days when you felt like you wanted to lean into creating content, what would you say to that version of yourself?
I would probably say, girl, you got no idea what's coming for you. Literally. But no, I would just say like keep doing what you love and be authentic and it will pay off. And it has. Like I feel like that is one thing I've kind of definitely leaned into more recently is just like doing what I want to do, what feels authentic to me. And I mean, since I started the page, I've never gone anywhere or promoted anything that I wouldn't personally like go to, but just like leaning in even more to that and realizing like people want to see you, like they're following your page for you too, not just for like your content, and that's kind of cool. So show your face a little bit and don't be scared to do that. Like it's gonna be a good thing, not a bad thing.
I don't know if you think about it this way. I think about it a lot as an actor, as somebody who grew up acting, that you're living in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the value that you offer is that you're helping people live out the idea even of going out to some of these restaurants. Maybe some people don't feel like they can actually afford to go to some of these places,
Yeah.
but you're at least able to curate an experience to give them a feeling of what that could be like. So maybe they're in a different situation down the road and then they remember that reel that you did about that spot and they make it a point to go to that spot because you also reduce some anxiety about what it might be like when they walk in the door.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I always like to see kind of like the inside of a place before I go. So I'm like, what can I wear? And I'm a person that looks at the menu before I go anywhere too, because I like want to have an idea in my head at least of what I'm going to order. And I feel like I kind of give that to people. Or maybe they're seeing things that they wouldn't normally order and they're like, oh, that looks so good. I want to try that. And then they're trying something new, which is so fun.
Yeah. Well, whether it's a new fitness or workout routine or going out to a new restaurant, I really want to thank you for just this conversation
Thank
and
you.
appreciate everything you continue to do in the capital region. Grateful for our friendship, the
Me
ability
too.
to have fun, laughing at each other's shenanigans, for lack of a better term. Kristen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. This was great.